questions from the audience is that each of the candidates have an equal time and equal opportunity to respond. So we can do this fairly. So excuse me for 1 second. Being a high school teacher gives me an advantage in trying to read some handwriting. And each of these questions probably will not be asked in the interest of time, but we will take a view of them. So with your indulgence, please. Here's a question for all three candidates. You have 2 minutes each. And let me see, who did we begin with last time? I think it was Rowan. So I think we're back to Shirley. But all of you can address this question. This question concerns funding for those with disabilities. How can you work to ensure that funding for disabled people won't get cut, as well as agency funding for disabled citizens? Ms. Miller?
I think I could be a proactive advocate to ensure that the state allocates funding to disabled individuals. I am currently a commissioner with the Proviso Township Mental Health Commission, and it's one of the agencies within the district that allocates funding to social service agencies of individuals that may have disabilities within our district. I would continue to be an advocate for those fundings in Springfield and work with our community leaders or those with small businesses in the district to identify programs that we feel are in fact making a difference for those with disabilities. So again, I would be an advocate.
Mr. Wells.
I think the first thing your state representative has to do is understand its community, his or her community. If you understand your community and you're in touch with your community, it's easy to be an advocate. I mean, I completely agree with Ms. Miller in that she sits on a mental health board. It's easy to understand when you're sitting on a board like that, the issues that are impacting what's going on in Proviso Township. But not just in Proviso Township, in River Forest, in Lyons. These things are happening district-wide. And if you understand your district, you're going to go down there and you're going to fight for it every step of the way. There is absolutely, it makes no sense to close mental health hospitals and mental health centers like there was a proposal to do a few months back. I was glad to see the state step in and find money for those mental health centers. We need to continue to do things like that. You know, I gave an example before that we had a murder in Indian Head Park, a guy who had been in jail for 17 out of 20 years, never got any mental health services. When he got out, he committed that murder. Those are people, in my opinion, that need the help. We have a woman here tonight, Deborah Vines, who found it on her back to Answer Inc. Every year, she is working day in and day out to take care of children with autism. She is helping our community. I have personally gone in my pocket. My wife sits on that board. You have to understand what's going on in your community to first know how, what you should be down in Springfield asking for. And it's people like Deborah that I would go down there fighting for. There's many organizations like that. Aspire, right here in Hillside. They have done some fabulous work. And your state representative, Chris Welch, will go down there and make sure that they don't cut funding for the disabled.
Mr. Hoskins, 2 minutes.
state representative, in addition to bringing state resources to support programs and services for the disabled, and to support programs for the families of the disabled, the caregivers, because you can't forget about the caregivers. Not only can you bring state resources, but you can also marshal resources from the private sector. And I've had a track record of working on behalf of causes for disabled persons. I once served on a committee to allocate money from the federal government that comes from what's called the Small Business Development Center program. This is a state and federal partnership between the United States Small Business Administration and the state of Illinois that funds centers to train persons on how to operate businesses. And what we did is we created a center specifically for persons with disabilities. Because like there are contracting programs for women, and like there are contracting programs for minorities, there are also contracting opportunities for persons with disabilities. So we wanted to provide us a pathway for persons who could function independently and operate businesses and potentially employ other disabled persons to have the resources that they need. Closer to home, I've worked in Hines Veterans Hospital. I mentioned that I'm a social worker, a former social worker. I worked with a lot of disabled veterans. I helped to make sure they were able to get the federal resources that they deserved, their veterans benefits. Locally, I've worked with the Progress Center for Persons with Disabilities. We've advocated so that restaurants and other establishments are ADA compliant. We've allocated funds to make sure that persons with disabilities can install safety equipment in their homes. But there's much more work to be done. I have a track record as an advocate for disabled, and I'll continue to do that if I'm elected state rep. Thank you.